Good morning, everyone. I am Ms. Ankita, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Management at MERI College of Engineering and Technology, Bahadurgarh. Today, I am going to present second session on the course Motivation Theories and Employee Performance. This course helps you understand how applying motivation theories and principles of organizational behavior can inspire employees to perform at their best, improve teamwork, communication, and job satisfaction, leading to greater productivity and organizational success. Now, let us begin with the session 2 of the series. We have read about the two types of motivation theories. Number one, content motivation theories, which consist of Maslow's need hierarchy, Elderfor's ERG theory, McClelland achievement motivation theory or needs theory, and Herzberg two-factor theory or motivation hygiene theory. Second type is process theories, which consist of Skinner's reinforcement theory, Victor Vroom's expectancy theory, Adams' equity theory, and Locke's goal-setting theory. Today, we will cover two theories, two-factor theory by Herzberg and achievement motivation theory by McClelland. Let us now briefly discuss the origins of the two-factor theory developed by Frederick Herzberg. Herzberg was an American psychologist who developed this theory in the 1950s. During that time, he was a professor at Case Western Reserve University. Most motivation theories of that era assumed that job satisfaction and job dissatisfaction were simply opposite ends of the same scale. In other words, if employees were not dissatisfied, they were considered satisfied. However, Herzberg challenged this traditional thinking. He proposed that satisfaction and dissatisfaction are not opposites, but are influenced by different sets of factors. Between 1957 and 1959, Herzberg, along with his colleagues Bernard Mussner and Barbara Bloch Schneiderman, conducted a major research study. They interviewed 200 engineers and accountants in the United States to understand what made them feel exceptionally good or bad about their jobs. The findings were surprisingly and laid the foundation for a new perspective on workplace motivation. In 1959, their research was formally published in the book The Motivation to Work. This publication officially introduced the two-factor theory, which distinguishes between hygiene factors that prevent dissatisfaction and motivators that create true satisfaction. Thus, Herzberg's work revolutionized how organizations understand employee motivation and continues to influence management practices even today. Now, I will briefly explain the method used by Frederick Herzberg in developing this theory. Herzberg used the critical incident technique. In this plan or method, participants were asked to describe specific situations when they felt exceptionally good about their jobs and also times when they felt exceptionally bad. Instead of general opinions, they focused on real experiences and detailed incidents. Herzberg carefully analyzed the factors mentioned in both types of experiences. He discovered an important pattern. Positive experiences were mostly linked to intrinsic factors related to the job itself, such as achievement, recognition, and responsibility. On the other hand, negative experiences were connected to extrinsic factors like salary, supervision, and company policies. From this, Herzberg concluded that job satisfaction and job dissatisfaction do not lie on the same scale. They come from different sources. This finding became the foundation of the two-factor theory. Now, let us understand what the theory actually says. Frederick Herzberg's theory explains what makes employees satisfied or dissatisfied at work. His main idea is simple but very important. The things that make people unhappy at work are different from the things that truly motivate them. For example, factors like salary, company policies, supervision, and working conditions can cause dissatisfaction if they are poor. If a company improves these, employees may stop complaining, but this does not automatically make them motivated or excited about their job. True motivation comes from different factors such as meaningful work, achievement, responsibility, growth, and recognition. These factors help employees feel valued and proud of what they do. So, Herzberg's key message is this: removing dissatisfaction is not the same as creating satisfaction. To truly motivate employees, organizations must focus on giving them meaningful and rewarding work. Now, let us discuss the first part of Frederick Herzberg's two-factor theory: hygiene factors, also called maintenance factors. These are the basic job conditions. They do not actually motivate employees, but if they are missing or inadequate, employees become dissatisfied. In other words, they prevent dissatisfaction rather than creating satisfaction. Examples of hygiene factors include salary and benefits, company policies, job security, working conditions, quality of supervision, and relationships with co-workers. The effect is very clear. Poor hygiene factors lead to dissatisfaction. However, even if these factors are good, they only remove dissatisfaction. They do not create motivation. Herzberg compared them to personal hygiene in daily life. Being clean does not make you excited, but being dirty definitely makes you uncomfortable. Similarly, hygiene factors maintain stability but do not inspire employees to perform better. Now let us understand the second part of Frederick Herzberg's two-factor theory: motivator factors. Unlike hygiene factors, motivators relate to the content of the job itself. These are the real drivers of job satisfaction and true motivation. They make employees feel fulfilled and engaged into their work. Examples of motivator factors include achievement, recognition, responsibility, meaningful work, and opportunities for growth and promotion. The effect is very important to understand. When motivators are present, employees experience high satisfaction and strong motivation. However, if these motivators are absent, employees may not feel satisfied, but they are not necessarily dissatisfied. They may simply feel neutral. So, while hygiene factors prevent dissatisfaction, motivator factors actively create satisfaction and inspire better performance. Now, let us look at the key conclusion of Frederick Herzberg's two-factor theory. Herzberg concluded that salary, company policies, and working conditions mainly stop complaints. They prevent dissatisfaction, but they do not create true motivation. On the other hand, achievement, recognition, and growth are the factors that actually create motivation. Therefore, to truly motivate employees, managers must design better jobs, not just offer better pay packages. For example, imagine an employee who receives a good salary and works in a safe office. They are not unhappy, but if their work is boring and they receive no recognition, they are still not motivated. However, if you give them more responsibility, appreciation for good performance, and opportunities to grow, they become more motivated and satisfied. This is the real power of Herzberg theory. Let us begin with McClelland needs theory of motivation, also known as the three needs theory or the learned needs theory. This theory was developed by David C. McClelland, an American psychologist who made significant contributions to the study of human motivation and personality. Born in 1917, McClelland dedicated much of his career to understanding what drives people to perform and succeed. He was closely associated with Harvard University, where he conducted extensive research, especially on achievement and motivational patterns. His work focused on identifying specific needs that influence human behavior, particularly in workplace settings. Through his research, McClelland proposed that certain motivational needs are learned over time and shape how individuals think, act, and perform. Now, let us see the development of the theory by David C. McClelland. During the 1940s and 1950s, McClelland began researching achievement motivation. He focused on what he called the need for achievement. To study this, he used psychological testing methods to understand deeper human motives. One important tool he used was a thematic perception test, commonly known as TAT. This test helped measure unconscious motives by asking individuals to create stories based on pictures. Later, in 1961, McClelland formally presented his ideas in his famous book, The Achievement Society. This publication marked the beginning of what later became known as McClelland's needs theory. Through this work, his theory gained recognition in the field of motivation and management. Now, let us look at the expansion of the theory. During the 1960s and 1970s, David C. McClelland expanded his research and identified three learned needs that drive human behavior. The first is the need for achievement, the desire to accomplish goals and excel. The second is the need for power, the desire to influence or control others. The third is the need for affiliation, the desire for friendly relationships and social connection. Later, during the 1970s and 1980s, this theory became widely applied in organizational behavior and management studies. Managers began using it to understand employee motivation, leadership styles, and performance. Thus, McClelland's theory moved from research into practical organizational use. Let's understand this theory. It explains that individuals are mainly motivated by three learned needs. These needs develop over time through life experiences, culture, and environment. Unlike Abraham Maslow's hierarchy, these needs are not arranged in fixed stages. A person does not have to satisfy one need before moving to another. Instead, all three needs can exist together, but their strength differs from person to person. The first need is the need for achievement. People with a high need for achievement have a strong desire to excel and accomplish challenging goals. They like tasks that are moderately difficult, not too easy because that feels boring, and not too difficult because that feels impossible. They also prefer to take personal responsibility for their work and want regular feedback to know how well they are performing. For example, an employee who sets challenging targets, works independently, and continuously tries to improve performance clearly shows a strong need for achievement. Now, let us look at the second need in McClelland's theory. The second need is the need for power. This refers to the desire to influence, control, or have an impact on others. Individuals with a high need for power often enjoy leadership roles and are concerned with status, recognition, and having authority. There are two types of power in this theory. First is personal power, which is the desire to control or influence others for personal gain. Second is institutional or social power, which is the desire to organize and direct others towards achieving organizational goals. This type of power is generally considered more effective in management. Let me give you an example. A manager who motivates and guides team members effectively demonstrates need for power. Now, let us move to the third need in McClelland's theory. The third need is the need for affiliation. This is the desire to build friendly, warm, and close relationships with others. People with a high need for affiliation strongly value human connection. They feel motivated when they are a part of a group and when they have positive relationships at work. Such individuals prefer cooperation over competition. They enjoy teamwork and believe in supporting each other rather than competing aggressively. They are usually good at communication and are sensitive to others' feelings. Because relationships matter so much to them, they often try to avoid conflict and disagreements. They work hard to maintain harmony and peace within the team. They also seek social approval and acceptance. Being appreciated, included, and respected by others gives them satisfaction and motivation. For example, a team member who encourages colleagues, resolves misunderstandings, and focuses on maintaining unity in the group clearly shows a strong need for affiliation. With this, I conclude my presentation on motivational theories and employee performance with two motivational theories. I hope this session helped you understand the working principle, process steps, advantages of the theories. Thank you all for your time and attention.